Meeting of the council's admin and policy committee to order. Mr. Lanier, it's you and I, so have you had a chance to look at the minutes and would like?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion. All in favor? Aye. All right, they pass. Mr. Holmes,
Good afternoon.
we're going to turn the rest of this meeting over to you.
Yes, sir. Well, I will go as quick as you would like me to. We are revisiting the Public Art Advisory Committee. This is something that came back before this committee a month or two ago. There were some questions that came up about it, and I know Mr. Crow in particular had some questions about it. Him and I discussed. I've gone through. What's that?
Norman had questions?
Yes, sir. I've gone back through what staff had put together and what Mr. Crow had asked, and I believe, and Mr. Crow, you can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, I believe I captured some of, or all of his requests. And I know, Mr. Bailey, you and I talked about this late last week, and you had another idea, and I'll let you go into that, or I'm happy to cover it.
Sure.
And Ms. Day is here.
Well, would y'all like to go through what you've got?
Technical questions. So
I mean, I know we can read.
what we have is a little bit of a background. Is this is back before most of y'all, other than I believe Mr. Busby, was on council. It was when Ms. Almond was still on council. There was a desire to take a small portion, if available, I believe it's 1% of Elevate projects, and dedicate that to public art. And so we established a committee, established some guidelines. We have seen that happen a couple times now. That was all, again, before we had an arts and entertainment and things like that. We're better equipped to do that largely in-house, or at least steer it in-house now than we probably were then. And so this was the idea to take what we knew was working, streamline it, get it back kind of within control of internal staff and city council, and be able to take that along. And one of the concerns that I think Mr. Crow had was the idea that staff was selecting the participants on this committee without kind of individual to that participant oversight from council. And so what this has gone is and taken each of these people. So now Ms. Wolf, Ms. Skinner, Mr. Harrison, Matt Jones are all named in the resolution. And so by passing this resolution, council has the ability to say, yes, we're good with that person. They can't be changed but by an amendment to this resolution. So Ms. Day can't decide, X and I aren't getting along anymore. Ms. Skinner's no longer going to be on this committee. I'm going to put this person on, without coming back to council to amend the resolution. We clarified, I know Mr. Crow had asked, we clarified that even though the recommendations come out of this committee and go to mayor, they still have to come back through the proper council committees in council.
Okay, I like what you've got, basically, I really do. And obviously we'll let some other people talk, but like I noticed that you have sort of a revolving thing. If it's in a district, that counselor would have an opportunity to have some input. And I like that, except I don't know very much about art. I know what I like, but beyond that, I don't know a lot about art. And we've got some people, Mr. Lanier knows much more about it than I do, and Mr. Busby. But I would like to see us, and just my thoughts, that as well as what we've got, perhaps someone, in addition to this, that the council appoints, as opposed to people that already have a position somewhere, and by that position they automatically come on. And I don't have a problem with any of these people, but I'd like to know what some other people think about that. Mr. Busby.
Hey, and I do have some thoughts similar, but before that, can you look back to the resolution establishing the 1% art fund? Is that couched in language? Is it 1% of the total cost of the project, or 1% of the city money involved in it?
It is.
So if it's 10 million of our money, leveraged to $100 million, is it 1% of 100 million?
It is 1% of the city money is my understanding, because I believe that's something that came up when it was first introduced, that we didn't, like you said, if we were spending $10 million on a $100 million project that the feds had 90% of, we didn't want to spend 1% of 100, we don't want to necessarily spend $1 million.
Well, I'd love to spend
Right.
1% of somebody else's money, but we do need to clarify that. My other thought is, in looking at what the proposal is down here, the only modification I would ask is that council has an appointee on that committee. I mean, I fully agree with the council member of whichever district is involved being on that project decision, but spanning all the decisions, I think we should do like we do in so many of the other important committees, boards, where generally the mayor might have X or Y number of appointees, the council might have X or Y, and that varies some. Sometimes it's a nominee, but this is serious money. I mean, particularly if we determine that it's 1% of the total value of the project, I mean, that's substantial money. And not only is it an issue of money, it's an issue of culture and what we want to portray to the public coming here to visit. And I think council rates and a permanent appointee on there.
What, you mean a council member?
No, I don't care if it's a council member or not,
Yes.
but a council appointee.
Well, each of the people appointed on this are council appointees.
But aren't they more than,
Well, then I want another one.
yeah.
That's
I want
fine.
an additional
I just
open
trying to figure out
spot
what to write.
that is appointed by the council for a term of 4 years.
Could I suggest that it be a council, I think having a council member on it's fine. I'd rather have a council member than an appointee, just because, again, ultimately, you are the only entity at the city that can expend money.
That's fine with me,
I would-
because this
I would
has got
like
the
to have-
potential to add up to substantial money. And I think
Yeah.
the people who are at the end of the pipeline approving it are very valuable as it moves through the pipeline, instead of a finished product showing up on this table and going yes or no.
And Mr. Busby, along those lines, just as you talked about the cultural inferences, I think it is imperative that we have that, as well as the historical significances, because of the fact that there may be some people that you may not know of, that I may know of, and so having that particular diversities of thought will bring about some good dialogue amongst that committee.
I agree.
Well, I would be happy if we could just have it amended that we would put, whether it's a council person, I don't wanna be too kind to Colonel Busby, but he is an artist. And,
Oh, yeah, he is.
and I know Mr. Lanier's got some experience with that, so I think that would be if we had one more that we would choose.
I'm happy to, and I can, certainly we can give y'all time to think it over, or we can decide here. I'm happy, we can go by name, we can go by, if currently you're thinking about Councilmember Busby and we're concerned about cost, if we want to say the current chair of the Finance Committee and just have that in the resolution. I can write it
I'd rather not
down.
do that.
Yeah, you need to be careful there, because
Cause look who was our finance chair not too long ago.
Certainly. Well, this resolution
Norman
can
could
always
be the
change.
we can pick a council member. We do it for Ravens on, what is it, DBA, I'm on
Yeah.
Visit
Everything
Tuscaloosa.
would've been,
Did you,
If I could, on the 1%, the language that's drafted here in this resolution is the same as the old language in the previous resolution. It's not changing. It does have some language in there to where if our federal funding, for example, in the project prohibits us spending money on art, we have flexibility not to compute the 1%, and that's actually what happened with the Western Riverwalk.
With the what?
Me.
The Western Riverwalk, the build grant that was in that project,
Right.
the federal funding would not allow the city to spend.
Okay, but
money
a lot
on
of
art.
federal grants and funding actually dictate in their, like the big courthouse down here,
Right,
it's designated that whatever the percentage
sure.
is devoted to art in there.
When
So
it's
that might be
written,
case by case.
it's written flexibly.
Yes,
Okay, so it's
Yes.
case by case, and if it's proscribed, then obviously we cannot include it in the calculation.
that's right.
But if it's not proscribed, we have that option, it sounds like?
We also have flexibility, just if the funding in general is constrained for the project, we are not required in the language to install art. And we've also had some projects that have fallen into that category.
We
So-
have, but as we got smarter in projecting costs going through COVID, we learned,
COVID was a rough
here,
period,
we learned,
yes,
you know, we're coming in under 40% over, let's come in up here.
right. I think we're seeing the tide turn now where we do have room in our budgets to do the art, but we went through a period for
No,
a
I
few
think those
years.
things are important to know.
So,
When before, and I don't know if this needs to be tabled again to allow the committee to think about it further. If we're going to select a individual council member, when I finish drafting up that portion, do we want that seat, to be limited to that council member's active term?
I think you write in a blank space parenthesis for a councilman selected by the council. And then if you wanna put in a term, it can turn up, huh?
Well, until you change it. You could appoint
Could you
somebody
change it?
until,
There you go.
until you change it, or they didn't wanna do it, and then you appoint somebody else.
What's the term of this committee? Isn't there a
2
period?
years.
2 years.
Two years.
Well, I think that would be 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that would be the same.
I don't have a strong opinion on that.
How long?
If we decide that you don't wanna do it, then we gotta reappoint somebody else.
I just wanna keep that council member on that district though.
I agree with
Yeah,
you.
we gotta keep
I
that.
agree with you on
The
that.
council member representing the district needs to be a part of that
Discussion.
project.
All I would add is if Kay don't like it, like one of them, then she need to have the power to get them off of
The fire.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put that in. Let Kay swing that.
all work for Kay, right?
Ain't no doubt about it.
I'm not
Add
sure
that
that
for
we
Kay.
can do that.
Well, I think we can do whatever we want.
Uh,
All right.
Okay, is that, now, are we,
They don't know you like I do.
let me ask this question. Are we in agreement that we would like
Yeah.
a councilman on there as a permanent person?
I think so.
Okay. All right, can we table this and come back in 2 weeks or whenever?
I mean, if we need to do it,
Or can we,
we're agreeing on it, we can.
If we- can we do it today?
Why don't you just
Let's,
write it
I'll
in
make a
as a
motion to
blank
pass it.
selected by the council and
Okay.
then
This is
next
council
week
select-
or
Bring it
next
to the
month,
council,
we
let's
can.
vote.
This is council making that selection then.
okay,
So the selection is made by putting it in the resolution, so I need a name to put in the resolution, appointing
Is
that
there a
council member.
resolution appointing the finance director to
Until they're not appointed.
visit Tuscaloosa?
Have to be.
There is a resolution appointing you to visit Tuscaloosa.
But
Yeah,
it's appointing a position, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's the chairperson of the.
And each one is gonna be slightly different, but.
But this position would
I think we
be,
ought.
this position would be selected
Lee.
by the council member.
He
You
changed
just,
that.
no different than how, as you gave the example, Ms. Howard is on the Planning and Zoning Commission. She is selected by you to that seat. That's what we would need from this committee is can you all
Yeah,
give
let's
us
just
the name of
select
who
me.
you would like to select in
Would-
the public art
but
advisory.
would we have to put that name in there today, or could we?
No, sir, we can table it for a name to come in, but I
Well,
can't,
we can just select right now. Lee,
I
you
don't want it.
Let's, Lee, go ahead.
Just say that.
Give it to Lee. Let's, Lee.
But if something happens and Councilman Busby doesn't wanna do it,
If-
again, or he just says, hey, I don't wanna do this anymore, then it's flexible for us to vote for Cassius or something.
The,
Well, I'm fine with
so
that.
if y'all wanna
That's
come
my
back next
suggestion.
month and change all the people in here, we just have to amend the resolution.
Right.
Okay, well, Lee, would you do that?
Sure, you'll do it.
Okay, well, let's put, if it's okay with everybody,
Fine with it.
and y'all can live with that.
I'm fine with it.
I make a motion.
Can we vote?
No, you can't vote.
I'll second.
All right, what do we need to do, Mr. Holmes?
If this committee will pass this out to full council, I will make the amendments I've been asked to make before it appears on
Okay,
council.
do we have a motion?
And
I
it's
make,
second.
yeah, we have a
All
motion and
right,
a
all
second.
in favor?
Aye.
All right, it passes, Mr. Holmes. All right, I don't see anything else for the committee today. Our members, I don't see you jumping up with anything to
I make a
say.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.